so that more people get saved during the tribulation than any other single period of time in history. That's how loving God is. But what's amazing is that's what he wants us to be doing. He wants us to be going into all the world. He wants us to be Christ-loving, Bible-reading, hope-overflowing believers. And that's what we should be in our ever-darkening world. And that's what Revelation was targeting, this representative group. Do you remember where this book went? Primarily, it was addressed by God through Christ to John to send into the church plant circuit, the 7 churches that 6 of them had been planted most likely out from Ephesus. And John was supposed to tell them how they were supposed to live as Christ-loving, Bible-reading, hope-overflowing saints in an ever-dark world. Well, we're in that next section, the tribulation events. And most often we're thinking about all the horrible stuff, but 2 times God pulls back the veil to show the amazing parts. As the tribulation is unfolding, as a fourth, 1 out of every 4 people dies, these 144,000 Jewish evangelists, they're Messianic Jews. You know what I think of them as? Little Apostle Pauls. Can you imagine one Apostle Paul? He was like the Energizer Bunny. You couldn't get him down. They even stoned him to death and God raised him up and he kept going. Can you imagine 144,000 of them that can speak every language of the world? That's part of the gift of languages. These 144,000 are able to communicate with every single person on earth, and they don't need machine learning, Bible translation tools. It's part of the supernatural outreach God does during the tribulation. But let's look. Here's the whole tribulation roadmap for this section. We have the 4 horsemen. That's and look in chapter 6. I want you to see it, and we'll tag them. Now I saw verse 1 of chapter 6. By the way, verse 1 of Revelation 6. Now I saw, that means John saw these events happen. The Lamb opened. Jesus is the one that launches the tribulation. The Lamb opened. One of the seals, God has it all planned out, and it's orchestrated, the order. I heard one of the 4 living creatures. John's actually there witnessing all these events and recording them, saying with a voice like thunder, "Come and see." God wanted him to see that. He wanted him to write it down. He wanted us to know about it. So what do we want to know? Behold, a white horse, and he that sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer. But we don't usually say that I have a bow. We say I have a bow and what? Arrows, right. Very possible, since every word of God is pure and inspired and God is precise, it's very possible this is saying that this leader, the first one there, the conquering, the white horse, the first seal, see on the left, there are 4 horsemen. The first horseman most likely represents the Antichrist, and the bow without the arrows means that he conquers the world, probably non-militarily. Probably there's so much problem, so much famine, so much pestilence, so much unrest, so many powder kegs, between all the different groups on earth and all the rivalries, and how it says that nation will rise against nation, kindred against kindred, and tribe against tribe, all that. There's going to be so much anger and hatred that this man arises, and he's the Jesus everybody wanted. He is so winsome, not negative, and just white, and just, the white horse speaks of the purity and the peace, the white dove and all that stuff. He does it. He conquers. But immediately, look what verse 3 says. And he opened the second seal, and the creature said, "Come and see." And a fiery red horse went out, and it was granted to the one who sat on it to take peace from the earth. So God initiates humans, and well, look what happens. And that people should kill one another, and there was given them a great sword. This is warfare. This is fighting. So the Antichrist launches, and then the peace is shattered by the warfare. Then third, there's this famine. Look at verse 5. And he opened the third seal, and I heard a living creature say, he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand, And I heard a voice amidst the four creatures saying, a quart of wheat for a denarius, 3 quarts of barley for a denarius. Do not hurt the oil and wine. Basically, all that strange verbiage says that it's going to take every bit of everybody's time to earn enough money just to have enough food to survive on until the next day. That's what famine is. And that's the third, the black horseman. And then this pale green one in verse 7. When he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice say, come and see. And a pale horse, chloros, kind of like chlorine, this sickly green color. And the name of him who sat on it was Death, and Hades followed him, and power was given over them to kill a fourth of the earth. With sword, that's through all the warfare. With hunger, that's through the famine. With death, that's what happens when you get wounded and starve, you die. And by the beasts of the earth. And therion, I don't personally believe that means that snakes are going to multiply and lions are going to multiply and bears are going to multiply and you know what I mean, the beasts of the earth. Most likely this goes back to, do you remember Anton von Leeuwenhoek, the guy in the Netherlands that put some lenses together and started the first microscope, and he got a drop of water from the puddle in front of his house and he went, and it's recorded in his journals. He said, what marvelous beasties. That's what he called the microscopic organisms. So, and that word is actually the same, therion, these little beasts that is used. So probably this is plagues and pestilence. The beasts are pathogens that altogether collectively kill a fourth. And then the martyrs in verse 9, the fifth seal, I heard under the altar the souls of those who have been slain for the word of God, for the testimony they held. And they cried, how long? And robes were given to each of them. Verse 11, they should rest a little while longer until the number of their fellow servants and their brethren would be killed, would be completed. So that's the martyr seal, that's the fifth. Then the cosmic changes starts in verse 12. And when he opened the sixth seal, a great earthquake, the sun became black as sackcloth. Verse 13, the stars of heaven fell. Verse 14, wow, the sky recedes like a scroll, and everybody gets scared to death. And then what happens is where we are right now, that block going this way, which says sealing of the 144,000 of the 12 tribes, and that's Revelation 7. So that's where we start in verse 1. It says, after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, on the sea, or on any tree. And people say, oh, the Bible's false. The earth doesn't have 4 corners. I know, but any normal person, you buy the most modern car made by any manufacturer, and it will have a compass, and if they have an icon for it within the control panel, it will have 4 points. And what they're saying is, for us to orient ourselves, we have to think of something in front of us, something behind us, something to our right, and something to our left. And by the way, that's actually in the Hebrew language. That's how God gives directions. He gives it like he's sitting on the throne in the temple, and in front of him is east. On his left is north. On his right is south, and behind him is west. And that's actually how, in Hebrew, God gave directions. And he didn't say that the earth was flat and square, but he's talking about the 4 corners, the 4 points, as it were, of the compass. But look what happens. And it says, the winds don't blow.